for the final round of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship. We're at Donington Park. The full Grand Prix circuit is in use, and after what has been a busy season, a championship already won by Luke Reed, we're ready to go for the last 20-minute race of the year. The car's heading out onto the circuit shortly, and then they will go into battle with Luke Reed, the champion in the G56 class, and also with now Luke Garlick, having won the championship. You can see him in the background, number 71 in the GT5 class. He made contact in the earlier race with Ella Lloyd. Ella given a penalty for that, which therefore affected her race result, and therefore means that Luke Garlick cannot be caught in the championship. And in fact, Ella Lloyd, I can't see on the grid, so maybe thinking, well, there's no point because I can't win it now. She has withdrawn, so there's no number 28 from the back of the grid. Everybody else, though, is present and correct, including Ruben Haig, who was the winner earlier on in the day for a 7th win of the year. So we're ready to go. The cars on the grid, the formation lap beckons. Ruben Haig, number 6, the G56s and the G40s are the cars involved in this. The championship, effectively, the merger, if you like, of the old Ginetta Super Cup and the GT5 Challenge, which gave such good racing for so many seasons. But it's a real shame only to see a handful, we've got 5 now, of the G40s, because they were such good cars and gave such good racing for so many years. But I suppose time moves on. The cars set off then behind the pace car for this formation lap. Colin White going through, number 78, GT racer, Ginetta stalwart, and of course National Hot Rod hero for many, many years. The grid then is based on the results of race 2. Ruben Haig is on pole and Blake Anglis with him at the front of the grid, with Colin White and Conor Garlick, who got a penalty in race 2 for track limit offences, lining up on row 2. Callum Davies, who won yesterday for his 1 win of the year, is on row 3 with Bal Sidhu for company. Then it is Leona Theobald and Mackenzie Douglas, who should be one to watch, ahead of Carl Garnett, and then definitely one to watch Luke Reed, this year's G56 champion, who ended up here in the gravel on the first lap, avoiding a rather errant Callum Davies. That's why he's at the back of his part of the grid. Sam Harvey and Will Rochford are on the front of the G40 grid, ahead of Pablo Jequier and Karim Sekat, and then the new GT5 champion Luke Garlick rounding out the grid. Ella Lloyd missing from the lineup. So a 20-minute race in prospect. Cars making their way now to the exit of Coppice, down towards the Grand Prix part of the circuit. The G56 is, of course, the quicker cars. And I suspect in time, some of those drivers that have spent the year in the G40s will try and get their hands on one of the G56s, and by sort of natural wastage, if you like, the G40 class will drop away. But it's a shame. So many of those cars built, they've been seen in other categories this year, as drivers want to go for overall honours of class positions, I guess. Mackenzie Douglas for Fox Motorsport, starting 8th on the grid. Had a box full of neutrals in the second race, came through the Melbourne hairpin. The car had a big N on the dash and not a gear to be found, so it retired. And this is Sam Harvey, who had his first win within the GT5 category earlier on in the day. He was absolutely delighted with that after a season slog so to do, and it all came good for him. Coming out of the Melbourne hairpin there, Mackenzie Douglas. You can see how much vigorous weaving is going on to get the warmth into the Michelin rubber, and to the grid they come. Of course, the Grand Prix circuit, when they raced on it back in May, was new to them, because the touring car events at which Ginettas had raced in past seasons had always ever been on the national track. So for many of them, a new bit of the circuit to learn about. So Ruben Haig wriggles his way onto pole. Blake Anglis alongside number 84, Colin White, racing veteran these days. The 4x4 dealer from Glastonbury, slotting into place on the second row. Blake Anglis a little bit further back from his grid marks. That's the GT5 champion. Luke Garlick with a penalty to Ella Lloyd. That was sewn up on the amended result, and Ella Lloyd, having withdrawn from this race, already confirmed for 2nd in the championship. So frustrated perhaps to have been penalised, but Luke Garlick, let's see whether he can come through from the back of the class and win in this last race of the year. The green flag is shown. That means everybody's where they need to be. And so for the final round of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship, the lights go red, engine notes rise as the lights go out. One doesn't get away at all, Mackenzie Douglas. Let's hope it's not a repeat of his gearbox problems from earlier on in the day. I think the car is now moving, as it is going to be Blake Anglis, number 84, that leads down towards Redgate. Colin White on the outside line. Gets a little bit crossed up, does he? Just hangs on to it, comes out with Ruben Haig alongside. If anybody can go around the outside to make a pass, it's somebody from Oval Racing. So Colin White staying alongside Haig, but then Callum Davis comes up to have a go as well in the blue car and goes third. Anglis leads, Haig second from pole, Callum Davis up to third, and White goes wide. He falls back behind Conor Garlick, and round the outside also there, Carl Garnet, number 19, who we lost from the previous 2 races with various maladies. Luke Reed in the background in the blue fronted car goes through on the inside line and picks up a place, and that puts him now up within the class. Edging forward, of course, he's been the man to beat all year, having won the championship at Brands Hatch. On the outside line there, as they round Coppice for the first time, is Leona Theobald. And so now the cars make the run once more down towards the S's. So you've got the race leader, Blake Anglis, ahead. In second spot then, right on his tail, Ruben Haig. And in third position is Callum Davis as the cars wriggle their way out of the S's. At the back of the queue, it is Balsidhu. And now, side by side for the race lead, Ruben Haig on the inside line, and he goes by, makes the place his, and so the man from pole position goes back into the race lead as they come out of the corner. Callum Davis then, starting 5th, up into 3rd, and he's not done yet as he switches sides in the all-blue car then, tries to get 2nd off Anglis as they break now for Goddard's. Conor Garlick 4th as they come past the pits in the white car. Colin White, having fallen away on that opening lap, is what, 7th? Up into 5th place is Luke Reed. And the quest now is to try to round out his championship winning season with yet another victory. So 26, Luke Reed onto the top of the Craner curves there, trying to fend off the challenge of Carl Garnet, who's been another Ginetta regular over the last couple of years. And in turn, the cars now head downhill once more, lap 2 in this 20-minute race into the old hairpin. Luke Reed for Wolf Motorsport, closing now with clear road ahead of him on the pack further up the road. Doesn't have to worry about what's going on behind particularly, because he's not having to defend, but before long he'll catch up with the traffic ahead. So Ruben Haig at the end of the lap led by 0.3 of a second ahead of Blake Anglis, and he's hanging on to that place now as they make the run into Coppice again. Callum Davis there 3rd, Conor Garlick it is in 4th place. Into the braking zone they can then. The nobody's dip as they hit the brakes. And Ruben Haig using all of the curb as he goes through. Left-hand drive ahead of right-hand drive. Blake Anglis in 2nd spot then. Some of the drivers preferring a left-hand drive car because on a clockwise circuit gives you a greater field of vision around a corner. But it is Haig then for the Breckle Racing team, James Breckle's team up front. And Colin White, another disappointing effort, I'm afraid, as he's fallen away from where he was on the grid. In the G40s, you can see the speed differential means they're a bit distant already. You've got Luke Garlick, the champion, already up into 3rd place on the back of Pablo Jacquier, but going for a 2nd win of the day. Sam Harvey is ahead at the moment as he comes out of the corner. Into Goddard's they come. This the end of lap 2 for these cars. Luke Garlick there, Brother Connor further up the road, looking good in the G56 part of the race. There he is, number 63, running in 4th place, and Luke Reed is catching. Now the fastest lap has gone the way of the recovering Mackenzie Douglas. So after that duff start, he's gaining ground. Chewing up the ground is Pablo Jacquier, who's run off the road coming out of Goddard's, gets back onto the road and soldiers on. The Ginetta Junior graduate, despite a rather scary moment, he certainly biffed the wall, but carries on. He's brought mud onto the racetrack. Pablo Jacquier, let's see how he did it. Was it an assist or was it all self-induced? The man behind was Luke Garlick, and Jacquier just runs wide, keeps his foot in, gets onto the muddy grass, slithers towards the wall and bang, grazes the front, bounces off it, keeps his foot in, drags it off the dirt, gets back onto the road, and you see in the background Luke Reed now going for 4th place as they come into the S's. So that left and right flick they come. So down into the heavy braking zone of the Melbourne hairpin. Luke Reed looks for the inside line. Big dive. Was it a committed one? I think it was, just about. He's up the inside line as they come into the corner, but that puts him on the outside now on the run up towards Goddard. So he's not been able to make the move. Breaks for the corner and stays 5th. And then you've got G56 Class B, if you like, the second wave of them being headed by Colin White, Carl Garnet up behind him, but all of these dropping away. The quick one in the pack really is Mackenzie Douglas, fastest lap of the race to number 24, the all-white car. Luke Reed again for 4th, and a change for the race lead there because Blake Anglis made a dive on the inside. Has he gone through? Let's wait and see. The answer is no. Ruben Haig is just ahead of him. Blake Anglis with a proper dive on the inside line was level. They come down the hill, so it's still Ruben Haig ahead. Here's Blake Anglis once more, going for the inside line. They almost rub. Wide is Haig, just able to hang on to it as Davis gets up the inside, takes to the curb, demolishes the floppy marker. So much for track limits there. That was definitely 4 wheels off to gain an advantage, wasn't it, as he goes through into second place. You could argue he was squeezed and had no option, but he's up into second place. And now, yesterday's race winner straight away goes after Ruben Haig. But Luke Reed, look, from the back of the grid of the G56s, right onto the tail of Anglis now. It's 4 for the race lead. Still, Mackenzie Douglas is the man with the best lap of the race to his name as he tries to clear that second group of cars. But Ruben Haig, in probably the world's widest G56, no matter what's been thrown at him, he still leads the way. Now Callum Davis is the man having a go, and there, bouncing over the curb. Haig, too much speed into the S's, that flicks him out wide, mistake made. Davis takes over the lead, Anglis goes second. Luke Reed up the inside line, brakes as late as he dares. There is just about a gap. Conor Garlick forced wide, and through goes Luke Reed up into third place now. So Ruben Haig, all self-induced by going too quickly into the S's. Drops him back into fourth place. He might even be in jeopardy for that. Over the line they come then. So the new race order is Callum Davis into the lead, Blake Anglis second, then third, just Luke Reed. Fourth in the queue is Ruben Haig, and on the outside line, look, 63 Conor Garlick as they head into Redgate here. Out of the right-hander. Was that a rub between Haig and Garlick as Ruben Haig moved across the front? If it was, he was able safely to hang on to it. Colin White still running 6th, Mackenzie Douglas 7th, but now looking as though he's plateaued. He was quick early on, but now looking as though that might be about as good as it gets for him, because he's not bringing down the gap to Colin White. Colin, in turn, is not being able to close on this train of cars further up the road. So Ruben Haig, who led early on, now in that fourth place. What can Luke Reed do, though, about the traffic ahead of him? He's still got 12.5 minutes to go, so the rather dominant driver in the championship this year still pushing. And he's most certainly not given up, has he, as the cars here come once again down into the S's. So Callum Davis it is who leads the way, heads into that left-right flick, and as they go over the curbing, up towards the Melbourne hairpin once again. 84, Blake Anglis then, still going after Callum Davis for the race lead, but Luke Reed edging ever closer, has a dive on the inside line there, coming into the hairpin, can't do it. Ruben Haig goes to the outside line to try to make a move against him, and so as the cars then now sprint their way up towards the left-hander of Goddard's, it is Callum Davis just ahead of the queue as they round the final corner up towards the timing line. What have we got left in the race? Still 11 3/4 minutes then. You can see all the Jequier dragged grass on the road that they steer away from. So first to third, 1.1 seconds. 11 tenths then between Callum Davis and the champion Luke Reed. Conor Garlick then all over the back of Ruben Haig. A sprinting of Garlick for Ruben Haig, but he's fending him off at the moment as they come out of Hollywood down through the Craner curves once more. These are the G40s then, the smaller engined GT5 class cars. Sam Harvey still just ahead as they come now out of the hairpin, make the run up towards Goddard's once again. So Sam Harvey, the winner earlier on in the day, is keeping this year's class champion, Luke Garlick, behind him, brother of Conor that we saw a moment ago. And as they round the left-hander of Goddard's now, ready to accelerate once more over the timing line. Sam Harvey with just enough in hand, I think, not to have to worry too much on the next corner. But if it's a good run down through the Craners, then champion Garlick might well be with him. In third in the class is number 10 of Karim Sekat. And then Will Rochford, triple winner this year, a bit subdued in that fourth place as Callum Davis then leads the way almost into the second half of the race now as they come once more through the S's. Luke Reed's car looking a bit dog-eared with flapping bodywork at the front as he tries to get onto the back of Blake Anglis then for second place. Looks to the inside line, more in hope than in anticipation. Ruben Haig fourth, keeping Conor Garlick at bay, also committing to that inside line, which is a good way of defending on the way into the hairpin. Callum Davis then, yesterday's race winner, heads them up the hill. The SVG Motorsport car leads the pack then as they come into Goddard's and are almost now into the second half of the race. Colin White there was being reeled in, look, by Mackenzie Douglas. This is for position. Colin White for the second row. Mackenzie Douglas recovering after that awful start. And what can you do about Colin White? Douglas has done the best lap of the race thus far, heading down towards Redgate. There are the leaders on the top of the Craner curves then, with Callum Davis in the blue car clearing the lead by 7/10 of a second at the start of this lap from Blake Anglis in second place, Luke Reed in third. And then you've got Ruben Haig here with Conor Garlick right up behind him as they dive down to the old hairpin. Out wide goes Luke Reed, then this year's champion. That won't help the flappy bodywork, it'll dislodge it even more. He rattles it over the curb, back onto the circuit. Ruben Haig, early leader, in 4th place, and still 9 minutes on the clock. Lap 7 then, up toward the right of Coppice. In the background, Colin White keeping Mackenzie Douglas at bay, and these two lapping on a comparable pace to the front runners, so they're not really closing too much. We are getting track limit warnings though now. One warning has gone the way of Luke Reed, and also we're getting the driving standards flag for Luke Garlick in his black G40 and number 42 Will Rochford. So as Mackenzie Douglas chases Colin White out of the S's, and they now go down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Luke Reed there in 3rd place, closing on Blake Anglis, but he's also got this Damocletian driving standards flag for track limit offences hanging over him, and that means he's got to be careful now, otherwise it'll be a penalty rather than another warning. The flag comes for your last warning, and indeed, too late. 5-second penalty to Luke Reed. So having copped the driving standards flag, now the time penalty is imposed, and 5 seconds in this company is going to throw him down the order because the cars are still pretty tightly bunched behind. There he is. He makes a look on the inside for 2nd place. Can't do it as they go into Redgate corner. But Luke Reed, when you apply 5 seconds, is going to be, what, 6th in the race? 5-second time penalty then to Luke Reed. The last thing he needs now is people to get closer behind him as well. So he's a bit stuck behind Blake Anglis. Hopefully on that electronic display over the start line, he'll have seen the penalty, he'll have got the message, and he'll know now that he's got to try and push on if he can. So time penalty for Luke Reed, but only for him at the moment. The race leader, Callum Davis, then looking a bit more secure in that respect, because even if Reed were to get ahead of him, he can just sit on his bumper. And Luke Reed, for the moment, can't do anything about Blake Anglis there in 2nd place. So Blake Anglis in the Zentek car in 2nd place. Meantime, here, we've got a change for the lead of the G40s, because Luke Garlick is ahead of Sam Harvey. So the winner earlier on in the day chases the champion. Karim Sekat is next, and then Will Rochford 4th in the class as they come through. Just wonder whether these might be in danger of being lapped before the end. They head into Redgate corner, but now I think they're going to survive, aren't they, before anybody else closes up. The G56 category. And down at the Melbourne hairpin, the change for 2nd has happened as Luke Reed goes through. It's a notional 2nd. It gives him 2nd on the road, but it ain't going to stay there when the penalty is applied. Up towards the left of Goddard's they come now. Luke Reed is 2nd, but goes a little bit deep. Ruben Haig right on the back of Anglis. Of course, he was the man that led early on. So now, as they come over the timing line, we've got a driving standards flag heading in the direction also now of number 78 of Colin White. There he is in the background, losing out to Mackenzie Douglas in the white car that goes through and is ahead as they arrive at Redgate corner. They've got 6.5 minutes of the race to go. It is now Callum Davis that leads the way. Luke Reed 2nd on the road, but add the 5 seconds and he's going to be 5th come the end of the race. He needs to somehow try and stretch the margin if he can. There you've got Ruben Haig, who's never been able to respond, having been mugged earlier on mid-race from the lead, falling back in the queue. And now Conor Garlick tries to go all the way around on the outside, curb and all, gets himself on the outside at Schwartz curve. That translates to the inside line going into McLean's now. And so the cars accelerate towards Coppice once again then. Towards the right-hander onto Starkey Straight they come. Callum Davis, it is clear in the lead, clear-ish at least. 11/10 of a second last time was the advantage. What have we got? Less than 6 minutes of the race to go, so 3 more laps, maybe 4 they can bring out before the end. Luke Reed, no question, is charging along and he's edging nearer to the race leader. Ruben Haig through ahead then of Conor Garlick. Very defensive indeed goes Ruben Haig, hugs that inside line all the way down to the Melbourne hairpin to the outside line now. Conor Garlick, they come out of the corner, back onto the power, but very wide goes Garlick, 2 wheels on the grass, and that's going to compromise the momentum carried up the hill into Goddard's. Behind, look, Mackenzie Douglas, having got ahead of Colin White, he's still pushing. Let's see what he can do on this lap with clear road ahead of him then. So through comes Davis. Luke Reed, though, is certainly nearer. It's a real shame he's got that penalty because it's going to take the sting out of any real lead battle now. And Luke Reed very nearly able to think about making a move, diving into Redgate corner. Mackenzie Douglas, who goes through. His last lap was a 37.8. He's not quite as quick as everybody ahead of him, but certainly lapping quicker than a goodly number of them. So Luke Reed on the back of Callum Davis. Remember that Luke Reed has worked his way up from 10th on the grid put himself on the back of Callum Davis, but then he's got this 5-second penalty to add in at the very end. To McLean's corner they come, swing right, make the climb up the hill. So 4.5 minutes and counting then as the drivers go to the right of Coppice. Blake Anglis hanging on in there in third spot as they come out of the corner. And now there are more penalties coming. Ruben Haig has got one. So Ruben Haig, number 6, and also Will Rochford in his G40. He's a long way back, of course, overall. There he is, number 42. The white car at the back of that little group behind Karim Sakat. But Ruben Haig is another one that's going to cop a time penalty for track limit offences. Previous Ginetta Junior race, we didn't have a single one, but the seniors, if you like, are disgracing themselves in comparison. Over the line, there goes Sam Harvey. Whoops, that off the road is Luke Reed, so that takes away any thought of his penalty being applied. That was a big drama into the gravel at the bottom of the Melbourne Loop. So Luke Reed off the road, and let's see whether or not he is going to be able to dig himself out. I very much doubt it, but the car is off the road, very definitely, and so Callum Davis leads Blake Anglis as they come over the stripe. There is Ruben Haig, but he's got his penalty to be added on. Conor Garlick is about to make his move to the inside of Mackenzie Douglas. Next up is definitely closing. Penalised Haig goes out of Redgate onto the top of the Craners. And this is what happened then. So Callum Davis squeezed him onto the grass, goes Luke Reed, and once he's been pushed off the road, there's nothing he can do to slow down the car, and that's the second time today that Luke Reed has ended up in the gravel thanks to the driving of Callum Davis, because he had to steer out of possible contact in the earlier race today, ended up in the gravel, and now squeezed onto the grass, and there's no way on that wet grass he was going to slow down the car. So Callum Davis might well find himself being looked at for that, because that was most definitely defensive, and putting another car on the grass with those sorts of consequences, not great news at all. So Callum Davis then leads, getting himself through the traffic, and it is a charging Blake Anglis behind. The G40 class in the meantime, you've got Luke Garlick ahead of Sam Harvey, and they are coming out of the Melbourne hairpin as into it now comes Callum Davis, with Blake Anglis second, and then the penalised Ruben Haig running in third. Conor Garlick is just ahead of Mackenzie Douglas, and they're going to be able to squeeze 2 more laps out of this. There is the abandoned car. You can see in the gravel Luke Reed out of the car, out of the race, and no doubt pretty miffed about the way that that was done. Ruben Haig coming now up to Goddard's. Race leader Callum Davis comes through. Huge lead that he's got now from Ruben Haig, but he in turn 3.5 seconds back on the road has a penalty. So it is Conor Garlick, number 63, who is the man in real terms doing the chasing. Mackenzie Douglas next up. So there is Douglas to the inside of Garlick, can't find a way through there. Ruben Haig hanging on to second place. They'll squeeze 1 more lap out of it at the end of this, looking at the clock. So Callum Davis, the race leader, and now well clear after Luke Reed's demise. In the G40s, it remains Luke Garlick hanging on to the position ahead of Sam Harvey, and then Karim Sakat next up, as you see the field turning once more out of Coppice. So the G40s having their own private battle, about to be caught by the G56 brigade. It's Ruben Haig ahead of a curb-mounting Conor Garlick in his right-hand drive version. Behind him, the all-white car of Mackenzie Douglas, and then Blake Anglis, who was on the outside of the front row, don't forget, now pushed back into 5th on the road. Down they come into the S's once more. An ultimate lap as they flick through the left and the right. Garlick still hankering after a place. And as they come down now to the Melbourne hairpin, again there's a challenge possibly on the inside, but he can't really commit to that. Maybe he's hoping to use the traffic up the road to his advantage, as much as also being mindful of keeping at bay the car of Mackenzie Douglas behind. So Callum Davis here through the traffic, a bit more circumspect there than he has been with battling with Luke Reed. There behind in second place, Ruben Haig, Conor Garlick behind him as they go through then onto the last lap. Whoops, in trouble there is Mackenzie Douglas, and he ends up in the pit lane. Now, was that because he got sideways coming out of the corner after an error, or was that a mechanical drama again like he had in race 2, because the car did not seem to pick up pace? And he's not, I don't think, come over the timing line as yet. So Mackenzie Douglas yet again seems to have a problem. It was that the gearbox went to neutral in the earlier race that stopped him in his tracks, and something's happened again here. Callum Davis, last lap, comes through. Mackenzie Douglas, sad to say, is once more a retirement, it would appear. And there, Ruben Haig being mindful of Luke Garlick, whose brother Connor is, of course, chasing for a way past Ruben Haig. So Luke bails on the inside, lets the two of them go, slots back in dutifully behind as they come into Coppice corner. So now Luke Garlick sees Connor get the move on the inside line. He's about to go a lap down against Blake Anglis, but side by side for second on the road. Remember, Connor Garlick on corrected time is going to be second anyway, but Ruben Haig goes ahead of him on the road coming down to the S's. It was here that he made that mistake earlier on and bounced out wide, and they all came flooding past him. Callum Davis, I dare want to say the provisional race winner after the incident with Luke Reed, comes into the Melbourne hairpin for the last time. Connor Garlick to the outside then, still looking for a way past Ruben Haig. On corrected times he will be ahead. Callum Davis here is heading for a race win, his second of the weekend, second of the season provisionally, as there you've got Haig versus Garlick, and Ruben Haig, a little bit of a wobble coming into the corner. Out the other side to win is Callum Davis then. He takes the checkered flag to take the race victory ahead of Ruben Haig, who's second on the road, but you add the 5 seconds and it's Connor Garlick second ahead of Blake Anglis. Colin White will be fourth. Ruben Haig drops to fifth ahead of Leona Theobald, and in the background 71 Luke Garlick comes through to take the win in the G40 class ahead of Sam Harvey and Karim Sekat. So Callum Davis takes the race win in energetic fashion from Connor Garlick, winning margin in the end just under 3 seconds once you've applied the penalty to Ruben Haig. And so there, Callum Davis making his way round to the pit lane. Luke Reed, this year's champion, that was all sewn up at Brands Hatch, can feel pretty miffed, I think, about both races 2 and 3 of the weekend, on both occasions ending up in the gravel through not his own fault. So the inaugural season of this Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship comes to an end, with Luke Reed, the champion in the G56 class, with honours in the G40s going the way of Luke Garlick. And let's have a look at the provisional result then of that final race of the season. It looks as they came across the line like this. Callum Davis takes the checkered flag in race 3 of the weekend in the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship for Connor Garlick and then Blake Anglis. Colin White 4th ahead of Ruben Haig, and then Leona Theobald in 6th place. Bal Sidhu 7th from Carl Garnett, and then Luke Garlick. He in turn not only wins the class but wins the championship in the G40 element ahead of Sam Harvey and Karim Sekat on track. Then the penalised Will Rochford and Pablo Jecrier next. We lost Mackenzie Douglas, and as we had seen, we lost Luke Reed. So to recap on the race, good getaway made by Blake Anglis, bad start by Mackenzie Douglas. Eventually he coaxed the car into life and set off in pursuit of everybody and carved his way through the pack. As into turn 1 at Redgate, it was Blake Anglis that led the way, but Ruben Haig got up on the inside with Colin White and came out of the corner ahead. Down through the Craner curves for the first time, Anglis looked to be building a lead. Callum Davis, though, was on his toes, working his way up the order, and so from 5th on the grid, he was carving his way through traffic as Colin White ran out wide. When Ruben Haig hit the front, he then had this spectacular moment at the S's that bounced him out wide, and Callum Davis went through. Haig tried to recover, but Blake Anglis got past him as well, and Haig kept on dropping places. But then Davis had gone wide down at Goddard's, and back up front came Haig. Callum Davis was determined to score a race win. Luke Reed carving his way through the pack as well. In the G40s, Sam Harvey led early on. Pablo Jecrier had this rather spectacular lose coming out of Goddard's and found the barriers, but he did carry on, as then Luke Reed made his move on the inside line to get himself past Blake Anglis. Callum Davis led the way, but was then going to be caught by Luke Reed, who would eventually make a move on the inside coming down towards the Melbourne hairpin, but Callum Davis was not giving him any room. False Reed onto the friction-free grass, the car tobogganed its way across the front and into the gravel. That was the end of Luke Reed, and it means that Callum Davis is the provisional race winner. Luke Garlick taking honours in the G40 class, and with it the championship to round out the 2023 Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship.